You know what I mean? People are concerned for their children and their use of games and all that kind of stuff. And then, adults, I guess, figuring out whether it's hindering them from reaching goals and all that kind of stuff.
That's what I'm more interested in whether gaming is important or bad for us or good for us. I don't want to say I don't care about like the kid's age, but I'm more. It's all relative.
Yeah.
More worried about. Not worried. I'm not worried. I play. Started gaming
Around
YouTube.
here, it's okay. I feel like in this house, it hasn't been a hindrance at all. We do it together. It's a part of the interest that we can share with each other. But when it comes to people that have not figured out how to, I don't know, build lives on their own or with other people, is it a hindrance?
If somebody allows gaming to hinder them from adulting, is that also just a scapegoat? Like, did the games do that, or were they just, if video games didn't exist, would they just find another reason to like wallow in their situation? You know what I mean? Like, is it like when it's like saying like rap music? Is that rap music is the reason why the neighborhood is messed up in the first place? It's like the neighborhood was messed up before rap music existed. So I don't know. I'm sometimes I tend to get a little worried about fandom. Can you have a relationship with Can you have a relationship with video games, let alone anything else inanimate or something that's not like? Is that possible? Is there a real such thing? Probably. You know my answer to that.
I think so. I think you touched on fandom being more of the problem than what the fandom is. You have people that are unhealthily into sports, people that are unhealthily into watching certain types of television, things like that, that also suck your time and, take away from productivity. So I don't know. I think it's more of the fandom than the video games themselves.
It's something that's becoming so mainstream. It's so funny to see video games mainstream. You know me, like if anybody hears this, I my first gaming console, me and my brother, was the first, the Nintendo Entertainment System, and we had everything else in the house from there: Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, Sega Genesis. We had the Sega. That is terrible. The handheld one, Game Gear. We had Super Nintendo. We had all the way up to Dreamcast, and then I stopped playing games for 14 years. And it's like kind of like, and maybe it's the reason why I have this question. I came back to gaming after I was like a full blown adult with like made some strides in my career, so I can like take care of myself. And then I came back and I bought the Wii U, and I was the only one that bought a Wii U. And now looking at like the fandom, and you see like, it's not like a cliche like, oh, you're in a basement and you're eating pizza and you don't talk to women and you don't go outside, but you've played 5,000 hours. Like, there's people who are like that. But how do you, like, it's kind of like weary. Like, we have three children, and I wonder, like, when playing games with them, I wonder if I'm putting like distractions in front of them. Because as much as I like games, like in seventh grade playing PS1 or whatever, like if there was a girl down the street or something, like I'm getting the hell out of here and going outside. But I don't know. Is it?
I don't know. I don't think when it comes to, like you said, you came back to games after you were already kind of building your life. You were working in your career. You were working on, you know, your relationship with your lady,
That's funny.
you know? So I think that it was more of a, what we hope all the things that we do that aren't tied to our families and, careers and jobs and things like that. It's just an escape for the moment, just to kind of a momentary, I'm going to do this for a moment, let off some steam, and then go back to the reality of life. For the people that it becomes an obsession, where now you have to go spend your money to buy all the things related to this game, and you have to go to all the events related to this game, and then where is the time for you to focus on elevating the other areas of your life? And then for, like, you brought up kids, it's creating an atmosphere where it's not only about the games, and that we have time where we're sharing with each other, and that they don't see that the games are the most important parts of their lives, or the most important thing that they have to offer. I'm good at games.
It's not a yeah. Being good at games is not a personality. Being a collector is not a personality. Like these things became. It's like saying like I'm a like you're a cosplayer. Like we're into we go to anime and I see with our kids and we do all these things, but sometimes when you like how you doing? I'm gonna cosplay. It's like okay, we don't want to talk about that all the time. As we sit and talk, there is a Neo Geo arcade cabinet in our living room, so we definitely play games in this house, and we definitely are. I'm not shy about spending a couple dollars on more than a couple dollars. But if you want to talk about emulation and getting it how you get it, but just I think sometimes the fandom is more interested in collecting, and people will be upset to hear if anybody hears it. Collecting plastic and cardboard with pictures on them and stacking them and feeling good about it. I know you as someone who was in STEM and engineering for 20 years, I know that gaming could have contributed to, your interest in technology and science and math. And for me, it helped me with like visual art and, if it can inspire you to write a story because that game story was great. Like I just don't like, it's like the over like consumption and like consume, like leaning into consumerism. Like being a consumer is now of like a place in life like for you to brag about. Like I've played so many long RPGs over the last few years that like I can't play a long RPG unless it's like Yakuza. I've been playing a lot of Yakuza, but like arcade gaming is now to me like the most premium game. Like, I'll play Virtua Fighter for 20 minutes and turn it off. I'll play King of Fighters 20 minutes and turn it off because there's other things to do. And I think that like maybe those long epic Lord of the Rings length of games that we play, like I can't do it anymore. And I think that's why like some of the retro stuff is interesting to me. I want games that are short and fun to be developed. But I don't know, me getting back into gaming so I can like take care of, not take care of, but getting back into gaming so I can endure the bus ride. Venturing into New York City every day for work for over a decade. And now it's like I'm 3D modeling and animating and trying to dabble into gaming. I think that like if you're a creator, it's a great place to be inspired by. But if you're just going to consume and that's it, it's fine. But it's like, it's not necessarily like you have a relationship with it. It's a one-way thing. It's like more behavior based. Like it's your behavior. It's fine. You just like to do that. It's like smoking a cigarette. You like to play video games. It's not that serious. But is there anything unhealthy about it? Like, should we not? Or is that something we already addressed? Like, is it,
Yeah, I think it's not that it's healthy or unhealthy. Anything can be healthy or unhealthy. You can eat too much fruit. You can do all kinds of things. You can run too much, even though you're healthily running because you want to, build cardiovascular strength and all that. But now you can run too much and it becomes a detriment to your body. So I think anything that we do can be healthy or unhealthy. But when it comes to entertainment, it's so easily accessible now, and it's so easy to get consumed by binge watching TV or spending every Sunday during football season glued to the TV, and the rest of your family is like, well, I guess this is what we're doing right now. I think everything is about balance. Like you said, you can shut off the game. You're into shorter games now because you have other priorities in your life that are like, you don't need to be spending so much time investing in a long RPG anymore. And even when you did, you brought us along for the ride too, which was fun. I like solving the puzzles in Zelda. It was cool. So I think finding that balance, and I think a lot of people don't know that there can be more balance in their lives when it comes to playing games, especially when you're younger. You're like, I like doing my things, I like playing my games, and I'm not even thinking about the things that can take me away from that. especially when people think about having kids, those types of things seem like it's going to be a hindrance to enjoying the games that you've been playing, your whole life or however long it's been. But knowing you can bring your kids for the ride is more of like, okay, this is the balance is there. You're still enjoying what you enjoy, but then you can still enjoy different types of games. I'm a puzzle girl, so Tetris was my favorite game. After playing Sonic and NBA Jams when I was younger with my Sega, that those kinds of games became the games I would play just, in the computer lab in college, in the engineering lab. You know what I mean? We played Tetris tournaments against each other. So like, that's my favorite type of game. So I think when it comes to inspiring or being inspired by the things that you're doing or watching or playing, if you can bring it into your life and let it be something that leads you to something else that could be positive in your life, I think it could be healthy in that way. So I don't know, it's just about the balance of it all.
I agree with everything you said. I mean, obviously, I see how that could have affected you in a positive way, but not everybody is a doer. Not every, they just like things to happen to them. Like, this game is gonna happen to me. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna move on to the next one, and I'm gonna look up. I'm gonna be 50 years old. But I gotta, you know what I mean? Like, I think you have a positive tinge to it. I'm not questioning it. Obviously, this is me just having a conversation about all these games. I've been game heavy lately, but not everybody is smart enough to know that. Like, it's not a relationship. That is a program. Somebody programmed it, and you're being programmed at some point, like, to talk about the lore and talk about the story. That's other people's creations and other people's, like, sometimes I'm even getting tired of talking about celebrities. You know what I mean? Like, I admire a lot of the developers and movie directors and writers and those things, but at some point, there's someone who likes to try his hat in things just like you. It's like, okay, well, let me try a video game. Let me try to write a book. Let me make a documentary. Let me try to do this and that. And I think that's why it, to me, is a healthy thing. It's like you said earlier, but not everybody's like that. Not everybody's like that, and people really like to rap music was asked over and over again, is this bad for the community? And, we would all probably say, don't say that. And after 50 years, what did it do for us? What did it do for the community? What did it do for the optics of your city or the country? It's just kind of the same thing. It's like video games, like, it's not hurting anybody. And I just sometimes I worry about the gaming community. Sometimes I think us, including myself, we go a little overboard with being excited about things that make us feel good. And there's like a really big dopamine rush, probably 10 times that of binging a show, because it's interactive. If I do a Hadouken, nothing makes me feel better than a Hadouken. Maybe a Shin Hadouken or whatever, like it's the super move or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, nothing makes me feel, you know what I mean? Like, not nothing, obviously. I'm talking about like something like a piece of technology that you're dealing with. When you sit in the movie, you're sitting in the movie. But when you defeat Ganon, you've defeated Ganon. And I'm going to do it again and again and again and again. And then people, I think you can get lost in it. And,
I mean, I agree. I think that it's a false sense of accomplishment when you play games, because, usually in your normal life, you would get a sense of, hey, I did something positive in life, or something that would make me feel good about my contribution to whatever it is I'm doing. When you're playing games, it's an unnatural feedback loop where you're getting this dopamine hit when you, like you said, you hit that Hadouken, or you beat Ganon and all these things. But what really changed in your life? Nothing. You haven't really accomplished anything that's substantial in your life, unless you're playing a game that can bring you money because you're doing tournaments, which most people aren't doing when they're playing these games. They're just enjoying it by themselves or online with people that, you get a false sense of community as well. So it's just an unnatural, very personal, you in the game type of interaction, where you're missing out on the broader things that, when you're contributing in other ways to the world or society, that you'd get other types of feedback. But now it's just kind of like, oh, you're in your room playing your games. You feel good about yourself. You pop the next game in, you win that, and you just keep doing that, and it makes you feel good because you feel like you're accomplishing things. You just got this larger and larger stack of games that makes you feel good. And if you're able to show that off on YouTube, you're getting those likes and comments and all that too. So now it's even more of this artificial world that you've created around gaming. But when you look at your own personal life and what you've really created around you, it's, far less, I don't know, satisfying to you. So now you just keep feeding back into it's I guess a catch-22 for some people. If you feed that far into the fandom of it and the sense of accomplishment of 100% in the game, that kind of thing, it gets to be all consuming for people. And now that with the gaming community becoming so much more popular, you got people that are getting into it just to make money now, and not just the nerds from back in the day when we all just wanted to play something or do something. I was reading all the science fiction books and movies and watching the movies because it was fun for me. I wasn't even sharing that with most of my friends because they weren't interested. But now everybody's more universally aware of games and all these things, so it's just like, I don't know. Now you can do it, and it feels like you're contributing to the gaming community now. And I don't know how you feel about that.
Like the feel about contributing to the gaming community.
Yeah, just feeling like now you're a part of something larger, but are you really?
I think that me. Off rip, I would say, what is, just like it's saying, having a relationship? What does that mean? Mm-hmm. I would also ask the question, what does it mean to be a part of a community? There are people who game who are definitely a part of a community. They go out, they go to tournaments, they meet people. It's like when we went to Anime NYC, we bumped into people we knew because they know that we like the same things. And I think that when you commune, there's a community. If you don't do that, then it's just something that you do at home quietly by yourself that you call a part of a community. But it's like, okay, you can play online, but definitions change as things change in the real world. So I don't know what other people would consider being a part of a community. Being a part of a community means if you go online every night and play against strangers, you don't even speak to them. You're playing Smash Bros. You do, I have over 2,000 hours on Smash Bros. I don't feel like I'm a part of the Smash Bros. Community. But when I did go to a Smash Bros. Tournament, I did feel like I was a part of the community because I was out there for like 3 hours. I was talking to people, who's your main, and we did that whole thing. So it was cool. I did feel like for a moment I was a part of the community. Like, but is there a such thing? No, my community is my family, and like and that's the thing. I wonder sometimes when I look at our age group or older, me and you being 38 years old at the time of this recording, and even our kids playing games with us. Sometimes I worry when I see somebody much older. Now, obviously, you have the choice to have a family or whatever. I hate career. I hate that word. I hate that, whatever a career is and all these things. Like, you can choose to have a child. You can choose not to have a child. You can choose not to have. But, we grew up when people had grandiose ideas of their own future. And I wonder sometimes if that Nintendo 64 hindered that kid. Because, I had a friend when I was younger who loved playing games all the time. This is like probably a point that I should have said earlier, just to make a point. And I remember he wanted to play a game, and he was always like wrapping up his controller in his pocket. And we were standing in front of my house, and we just played the game the other day. We were playing Smash, like the original Smash Bros. Or Mario Kart 64 or something. And then like I was waiting on my other friend, my adventurous friend. We used to ride our bikes to the malls and go to parties, you know what I mean? And I'm waiting for him, and he's walking up. The gaming friend's walking up, and me and my other friend were talking about this party we were about to go to. And he's like, yo, he pulled out his 64 controller, like, from his pocket. Yo, you trying to game later? And I, like, for the first time ever, I gamed since I was 5 years old. I was around 13 or something. And I looked at him with, not disgust, but I'm like, there's girls over there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what his future became. I'm just saying, like, I had a limit. And I played all the Mega Man Legends, Mega Man X4s, and play all these things. But, and then again, we didn't have gaming like gaming is now. Everything's 10 times more potent. Whatever was bad rap music in '92, it's terrible. It's 10 times worse now. Whatever, the movies are a wrap. It's over for the movies. But I feel like gaming is like they give you these game passes, and then they give you these extras, and they give you there's the online. Online will have you not know you have a beard. You know what I mean? You'll look up and say, how many days have I been playing? So I don't know if this. I'm probably going to be a gamer for the rest of my days, but I rather it, obviously turn into like, oh yeah, I've been developing a game, or that game gave me the opportunity to, like, I don't know, write a book or something that was like, I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just like you said before, not everyone's inclined to want to make something. So a lot of us are just going to be consumers who are going to be the ones who have to buy the game that someone else made, or read the book that someone else made, or watch the movie someone else made, and whatever else they're doing in their life is, a means to get back to the enjoyment that they're going to get from something someone else made. So I don't know. It's kind of tough to say, going back to whether or not it's healthy or unhealthy. Is it more of a personal thing? Should we just consider on a personal, individual level, is it positive for you? Is it negative for you and your lifestyle and your happiness and what your life has turned out to be for that person? You know what I mean? Because one person can say, I'm obsessed with video games, and they're 100% happy not having a family, not having a career, or having contributed in any other way to that fandom or community other than being on the receiving end of everything as a consumer and just enjoying it. And they're completely happy with that. Is that okay? Or should we all strive to somehow contribute to that community as well, and also have productive lives in some kind of way?
I guess, obviously it's on a case by case basis. And everything's on a case by case basis. I know this is just a talking point to get a conversation going. But yeah, I guess if that's what if you choose that for your life, I'm worried sometimes about people who don't know that these things are being hindered because of their behavior. Like most people, we do things we don't know is, inadvertently affecting us. Obviously, we need people to want to say, I will play games, and I will be a consumer, and I will enjoy, because the people who do choose to be a developer will reap the benefits of the people who just consume. So it's always like, you need an audience member to consume what's on the stage. So I guess everyone is feeding each other at some point. But then again, that's a whole nother discussion, because I would love for there to be a lot more indie developers creating things that the average person can consume than a big corporation that has 4,000 people working on one game for 8 years. They put it out, they make $1 zillion from it, they fire 4,000, 3,000 of those people, and then we all just talk about the same game with no reverence. It's just something it happened to us. It's like back in the day, like, oh, you heard that song? Everybody heard that song. It was on the radio everywhere. Everybody, not everybody played Mario Odyssey. Not everybody played Tears of the Kingdom, but like, what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather, is there a gem on Steam or something but that's a whole nother discussion, because it's just big. It's just, I'm not one of those, because if it's a big corporation, it's a bad thing. But when you're an individual, like we all are, we taught to be individuals, you don't know that big corporations, they create things with the idea of like controlling how you feel about that product that you're consuming. And every piece of candy you eat that comes from a corporation will have an aftertaste, because they want you to want more. This is why we have part 2s and 3s and prequels of movies that are all garbage. So when you play, me and Philip yesterday, we were talking about Tears of the Kingdom. I said it is a stronger game, the fidelity of the game, because they refined it over like 10 years. They refined that engine and everything. But was it better than Breath of the Wild? Was it better? I didn't finish. I'm at Ganon. But was it better? Is it necessary to keep how many Final Fantasy 89? You know what I mean? But then again, that's another discussion about IPs and doing something original. Do we need Marvel? Marvel vs. Capcom 29. I would love it. I love fighting games. So yes, we do need Marvel vs. Capcom 29. But we pick and choose what we complain about. If I see another Lord of the Rings trilogy, then there's The Hobbit. Then there's another Lord of the Rings first. Game of Thrones end game. Do we need that? Somebody who's into that fandom would say yes. So I guess apples and oranges to each his own. You have anything last? This is a nice little volleying back and forth with my wife about gaming and whatnot.
And all that. I think you touched on maybe the way the gaming industry and most industries at this point that are related to media have evolved. The commodification of everything has kind of ruined it. So now to enjoy gaming, you have to pay way more money than you should have to actually play a full game. To enjoy Marvel, I have to watch 35 movies and shows, which is going to siphon all of my time. And before, you might watch a one-off movie that becomes a cult classic that could inspire the next, director, movie creator, or game developer for something that will inspire the next generation. So now you have to spend all your time. So when are you going to create when you're trying to enjoy something and it takes 3 times as long and you're spending even more money? So I think the commodification of everything has kind of ruined an authentic version of just enjoying something and being able to move on to the next thing, because now you have people that only play one certain type of game because it takes forever to finish it. Or, same thing with movies. So I don't know. It's just taking up so much more of us than it should. So now when you have that many more people that have exposure to these things because they're marketing it as, for everyone, for all things, everything used to be a little bit more niche. So niche. So you had more people that didn't even know about certain things, where you had the nerds playing the games or whatever you want to call everybody that was into these things before. We were able to dive into it and then develop into software developers and all these things. Now it's just like everybody's enjoying it and everybody's a little bit more trivial about things because we're all supposed to know about it, even though you may not be completely interested in it. So I don't know, it becomes more of a, background noise for some people. I don't know.
That's a good point, because I wonder sometimes when what is that? What game did you say in engineering school? Was it Defender? What game did you guys?
We would just play. We played Tetris, and there were a few other computer games that we would just find here and there that were like logic based and all that. And we were just kind of going against each other's times and all that kind of stuff. So mainly Tetris was, we would just like, all right, go, and then we would see who could last the longest.
In college.
Yeah.
See, maybe that's the energy, like you said, like the people like us who were interested in these things long before it was mainstream. I wish that came back a little bit. If somebody walks up to me and says, what you know about, and then they say something really popular, it's like everybody knows about that thing, but like you said, like I'm watching documentaries about people who are buying into the arcade industry in the 70s and going into the 80s. Like they were definitely like mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, some type of, software company based out of wherever, Texas or overseas. And I just, I find that to be just compelling, and just, not to say that the average person, it's like the average, just because you played 1,000 games, like you don't know shit. You know what I mean? I played 1,000 games, and that bothers me sometimes. I'm like, did you learn some Python while you were doing it? Goodness, like.
The game engine that game was running on. Like,
yeah, it's so I guess that's what. And you don't need to. Right. There's no need to. I'm just, maybe forcing a little content. But these are the things that we talk about off microphone and everything. But yeah, I'm probably gonna go play Fatal Fury for 10 minutes and then figure out my life. And we're done.